Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me, Big Papa Code. Thank you for joining me again. I really appreciate it. Episode 3 starting up soon. We're going to be talking about From Blockbusters to Stream, the fall and rise of entertainment titans, and really talking about the keyword innovation and how that is going to change, how that's been changing the world and will continue to change the world, and what that means for you. And I'm going to give you specific action steps and websites to go to help you understand what is happening as we move closer and closer toward 2032. So without further ado, play my theme music.
Yeah. It's Jay Nolan. Check me. It's deeper than cold. Yeah. Say it's deeper than cold, we live in our phones, but what if we can make them? Got every app in the world, where's the participation? Looking for representation. Don't overlook the pavement, Silicon Valley was patient. So join the movement, we ain't got too much time to be wasting. The grind chain, we're trying to buy chains, the blockchains, digital signatures in exchange. Homie, it's not a game. Troopers in the VR, trade with homies in DR. Currency circulating to stay afloat like a seaport. Dog, just look at esports, time to break the walls down. They don't want to play fair, we gotta shut your doors down. Kings and queens learning different things, infiltrate the scene. Everybody rapping for the fame, it's a different dream. Machine learning and algorithms, that's big business. More than just academics, the future's interdependence. Collaboration, no need for elaboration. Our thoughts can establish nations, that's not an exaggeration. Get involved with the tech revolution. Yeah. I said it's deeper than cold. Get involved with the tech revolution. Yeah. Opportunity to use it. I say it's deeper than cold, y'all. Involved with the tech revolution. Opportunity to use it. It's deeper than cold. Get involved with the tech revolution. Yeah. Opportunity to use it or lose it. Yo, I'm late in the game. Since the 80s evolved to digital. Ever since the computer invention, tech has been pivotal. Changing lives, investing in enterprise, yeah. But it's a shame that our efforts get minimized, yeah. Black and educated, so y'all can bet I make it. Regardless of any disadvantageous legislation. Our track record is known for overachieving. Leave a window with a crack, we get in and we never leave it. We starting conferences ready to build confidence. Running business autonomous. Nipsey Hussle was on it. It's time to establish dominance. We ain't bothered with compliments. Should have STEM courses as necessary requirements. Yeah, just imagine when the culture get to make decisions, and all the people we can move into bigger positions. The players power, but manpower is numbers. The strength is in our community, redirecting our hunger. Yeah. I said it's deeper than cold. Vibe with me. Yeah. I said it's deeper than cold, y'all. Opportunity to use it. It's deeper than cold. Get involved with the tech revolution. Yeah. Opportunity to use it or lose it. Deeper than cold.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me, Big Papa Code, back for another episode of the Deeper Than Code podcast. In this episode, we're talking about From Blockbusters to Stream, the fall and rise of entertainment titans, right? So what we are doing today is we're going to look at a little bit of history right now to help us for the future. That's what we're doing right now. We're doing a little bit of that. And today we're going to use Blockbuster and Netflix as our example to kind of show us what we need to be thinking about when it comes to new emerging technology to make sure that we don't end up blockbustered, like my friend Liberty likes to say. Do not get blockbustered. So with that all said and done, let's jump right in to today's episode. So to get started, let's paint a picture. Let's paint a picture real quick. So imagine with me a picture. Remember back in the day, it would be Friday night. It might be a nice rainy Friday night, so you don't want to go too far outside, etc. So what you would do is you'd rush to the nearest Blockbuster. You'd browse through all the aisles of DVDs and you'd pray and hope and pray and hope some more that the new movie that you know just got released wasn't already rented out by somebody else, right? And then after you get the movie that you wanted, or an alternative movie, right? You go outside in the rain holding an umbrella. You look around. You'd hail a cab. The cab would come. You'd get into the cab and you tell them go on to Bel Air or wherever it is that you need to take yourself to. That's what you would do, right? But as a result of the changes in technology that have occurred, that is no longer the way we do business. If it's raining outside on a Friday night, you know what you do? You go to your television and you turn on Netflix and you pick the new movie that you want to see. And it doesn't matter how many other people want to see it because there's no limit, in theory, to how many people can see it, right? You all can watch at the same time and it doesn't matter. Never have to leave your house. Never have to go out there in the rain. You get to stay completely dry. Don't need to hail a cab. But if you did need to go somewhere, you know what you would do? You would go on your phone, you go on an app, you click a couple buttons, and voila, Uber would show up, and an Uber will come pick you up and bring you to wherever you want to go. You don't even need to talk to the Uber driver because the Uber driver already has it plugged into their navigation system. Another thing that only recently came into existence, but they already have a navigation system built into their phone thanks to Google Maps or Uber's Maps or Apple Maps or whatever they might be using that'll take them to exactly the location that you need them to go, right? So those are new normals that have been created thanks to the emergence of technology. And if you just look at just that description, right? I'm only describing times that were 10 to 15 years apart. Back in the day, there's no big difference between the way the world worked in 1510 and 1580. It was basically the same thing. But now the way that the world is, that's 70 years apart. You wouldn't even think about the fact of like the world being anything like it was in 1953 today, but because of technology and innovation, that simple word innovation, that has caused this complete societal change on the way that we do business. And some people are asleep through the whole thing and are just, just living along and don't realize that the further and further we get into the future, the more that the difference between the previous year and the next year keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Like the way 1510 was not that much different than 1511, but the way 2010 versus 2011 versus 2012 versus 2013, 2014, each year is looking more and more different than the year before in terms of what you're able to do. Think about what you can do right now in 2023 with AI and auto creating your avatars and all this crazy stuff you could do with AI that I don't even want to get into now because I really would need to make a whole nother episode about all different things that AI can do for you. But all of those different things, voice generation, video generation, all these different crazy things AI can do. 2021, you weren't even thinking about that. You didn't even think about that as a possibility. In 2023, it's completely changed a lot of stuff. And if we just look back a decade, things that were normal in 2010, right, by 2015 were already different. You wouldn't think about being a full-time social media manager in 2010, but in 2015, people making six figures doing it. In 2020, it's like normal, right? For somebody to say that's their job description, I've got 4 or 5 years of experience doing it. Things change so rapidly, and the way things are going to be in 2032 are going to be so different than the way they are in 2023 because of all of these convergences of these time frames that these big titans have created. And you have to be prepared for that. And if you're not prepared for it, when it happens, it's going to happen to you, right? Rather than you being a catalyst and you leveraging it to do something, for yourself. It's just going to be something you have to react to. And I know For some of you that are closer in age to me, you can recall that sweet smell of popcorn as you went through the aisles in Blockbuster, or even as you went to the movie theater. Some people don't even do that anymore. But you could be scanning the rows in Blockbuster looking for DVD cases because Blockbuster was like the behemoth of that time, right? So that's what everybody did. But as history shows, even titans are going to fall because Netflix, they started off humbly. 1997, they had a simple idea: we're going to send DVDs in mail, right? DVDs going to show up in your mail, no late fees, going to be way better. And some people were messing with it, some people weren't. But Netflix was okay with continuously innovating and never saw themselves as just like we're just going to send DVDs. They always understood that they were an online platform, right? Listen to the name, Netflix, not flicks by mail, right? Netflix, right? And as broadband internet blossomed, which is what they needed, and they understood, the people that ran Netflix understood, right, that technology continues to get better and cheaper over time at an exponential rate, right? As a matter of fact, there is a concept called Moore's law, right? And let's look up. I'm on my computer. I'm not gonna try to remember it from the top of my head. I'm gonna go ahead and Google it real quick so I can say the exact meaning behind it. And look at this as I do it. There's an AI summarizer that pops up. Now, this is the exact definition, not just the way I'm going to try to remember and say it to you, because it's all about semiconductors and circuits and blah blah blah. So Moore's law is an observation that the number of transistors in an integrated circuit doubles about every 2 years. It's not a law of physics, but an empirical relationship linked to gains from experience in production. The law claims that the speed and capability of computers will increase every 2 years because of this, yet we will pay less for them. And another tenet of Moore's law asserts that this growth is exponential. So Gordon Moore's 1965 forecast that the number of components on an integrated circuit would double every year until it reached an astonishing 65,000 by 1975 is the greatest technological prediction of the last half century. When it proved correct in 1975, he revised what has become known as Moore's Law to a doubling of transistors on a chip every 2 years. So Moore's Law has held true for a while. And I've got all these things popping up. Is Moore's Law is dead? Is Moore's Law this? Moore's Law that? But it's held true for years, right? And as a result of that, computers continuously get more and more powerful over and over and over and over and over again and keep getting more powerful and more powerful. I remember when it was a big deal to get a 4 gigabytes of RAM machine. Even if you don't know what RAM is, right? You remember 4 gigs of RAM being a big deal. Some of you may remember 56 KB modems. We're not going to get into that. But 4 gigabytes of RAM being a big freaking deal. If you got a 4 gigabits, if you have 4 GB of RAM today, right, and you're trying to do like significant things, your computer's garbage, it's trash. But 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, that was a good computer. Now, if you ain't got 16 gigabits of RAM, gigabytes of RAM, etc., if you don't have that, it's a complete, your computer's trash if you don't have that. Like 8 is already kind of like you're not really doing much, right? The same way. And over time, as you've seen these 8 GB RAM machines, you've seen these 16 GB RAM machines. Now you got the 32 GBs coming out, etc. You see this coming out more and more and more and more and more and more. And honestly, it's crazy just the amount of progression that we have. And the faster you notice that it's happening around you, the less likely you are to end up, for lack of a better term, obsolete, right? So Netflix, but the genius that they really had is they were trying to craft for you an experience where you could, go onto a platform and just, have access to as many, to do whatever it is you need to do. You wanted to binge watch TV, which was great for them. because most people don't like waiting to the next week. So once they started coming out with their shows, they started dropping them, dropping the whole season at once, right? They don't do that as much anymore, but that was a big novelty that like changed the game. Like, oh, I get to watch the whole season right now. I'm about to binge watch the the whole thing, or I could watch it at the end of the day. I could watch it at my leisure. Nobody wanted to. It wasn't just Blockbuster Netflix came for. They came for cable too. Like you didn't want to have to be at your house, make an appointment to be visible in front of the TV to be able to watch your show when it came out. I want to watch my show when I want to watch it at 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, no matter what my life entailed me doing. I didn't have to wait when I was dealing with Netflix. I could watch it whenever I wanted to watch it. So they revolutionized that because at its peak, right? To come back to Blockbuster, let's think about the significance of what they toppled. Netflix was the undisputed king of movie rental, right? They had over 9,000 stores worldwide. It was an empire that dominated the market. Blockbuster was the go-to place for all your movie needs, right? You wanted a movie, you go to Blockbuster, they got it. It was a one-stop shop for all your entertainment. However, while they sat comfortably on that throne, that storm was brewing in the background. And let's face it, everybody likes a good underdog story, right? And that's exactly what we have here because, the rise and fall of Blockbuster would soon become a classic example of how even the mightiest giants, they can get toppled from their thrones if they don't know how to adapt, right? It's harder for a bigger animal to adapt than a smaller animal sometimes, right? So when Netflix kind of like started making the shift in the early 2000s, the landscape of entertainment was undergoing massive transformation. The internet was no longer just a tool just for emails; it was becoming the future of entertainment. Right? Broadband technology was booming, right? And everybody was racing with excitement of everything that could be done with this. And Netflix saw the potential that streaming technology held, and they took a leap of faith. They launched their streaming service, right? Which you can still get the DVDs, but they had a streaming service that you could get that would allow people to watch movies and TV shows right from the comfort of their couches, right? On their laptop. They don't need a TV, don't need anything. Just pull out your laptop and go ahead and watch TV. I remember this because, I remember this becoming more and more of a thing and getting more and more into the general zeitgeist because I remember, being overseas, etc., not even having a TV, having my laptop, watch what I want to watch directly on there, whether it was Netflix, YouTube, etc., and never caring about if I had a television because I didn't need one. And also, it wasn't a big thing for there to be the apps on the TV directly, which kind of changed the game too. So of course, I'd love it to be bigger, but also like it to, like it to be bigger on a bigger screen if I could get it. But it was great to like just pull out a laptop, boom, boom, go to the website, watch what I wanted to watch, right? That concept was mind blowing to everybody, right? You didn't need to drive to a store, wait for DVDs to arrive in the mail, or have a television and hook up cable and do all the stuff. $7.99 a month, I think it was back then. That's all you needed, and you could watch anything you wanted, right? And Blockbuster completely missed the memo at first, and they continued to rely on traditional brick and mortar stores, and they failed to recognize the shift toward digital streaming. They just hit the snooze button while their competitors were revolutionizing the industry, right? And where the story really takes an interesting turn is that Netflix was still a relatively small player, right, early in the 2000s, and they offered themselves to Blockbuster for a mere 50 million, right? And yes, you heard that right. The number might be a little bit off. I could Google it or whatever. I think it was $50 million. Fact check me on that. But the point is, it was a number that Blockbuster had the money to pay, right? And now Blockbuster is a multi-billion-dollar company, right? They turned down the offer, right? Dismissing it as insignificant. But little did they know they were passing up on the deal of a lifetime. That really came back to haunt them because the very company that they passed up is the one that blew them off the map, right? Blockbuster kept remaining complacent and resistant to change. It probably sounds like some people you know, right? But Netflix was busy revolutionizing the way we consume entertainment. They weren't just about movies, they were about the entire experience. They started introducing personalized recommendations, right? They started revolutionizing original shows, right? And they started, like I said, that concept of binge watching that you have. They understand the importance of staying ahead of the curve and constantly innovating, right? While Blockbuster was struggling just to try to keep up with what Netflix was doing, and Netflix was setting the pace and defining the future. So, despite its influence, Blockbuster's refusal to adapt and embrace the digital era eventually led to its downfall, right? The same way that these big real estate titans that are not seeing the emergence of prop tech, which we're going to get deeper into, are eventually going to be toppled by these new innovative companies that are innovating on top of real estate with technology. And oh my goodness, it's gonna that's a thing. That's going to make a significant difference, right? So not embracing the digital era led to Blockbuster's downfall. Their outdated business model became increasingly irrelevant as technology started to just take over, and they even started to attempt to do their own service, etc. But by then they were already kind of seen as like Blockbuster. I'm doing Netflix. Like Blockbuster was already corny by the time they started to try to do that, and they could not come back. And that ended up with the sunset of their era, and a new era, the Netflix era, came into being. And other companies first were playing ball with Netflix, but eventually they started to see that we could get involved in that too. And that's where Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Hulu, and all these others seized the opportunity to do the same thing. They were like, we're not going out like Blockbuster, and we're gonna fight back against Netflix, right? And that created the era we have now, the era of streaming, right? And the mantra of this new era was clear. You got to innovate or you're going to perish, right? The competition is fierce between all of them, and now you actually have it where it's almost like back to cable again, where it's like you got to have 5 streaming stuff to get all the different shows, which is not where we want it to be, right? But so is the way the world works sometimes. And you can't just only have Netflix probably, unless you just are okay with only being able to see what Netflix has to offer, and you're okay with not seeing, Marvel TV shows and stuff on Disney Plus, and not seeing whatever the heck Hulu has, I don't even know, or seeing The Boys on Amazon Prime, or seeing Game of Thrones and Game of Thrones like stuff on, Max, right? If you're okay with missing out on those things, you could just go ahead and just do it, and just deal with Netflix and Netflix alone, or just pick one. Pick the one that have the shows that you like, and that's all you got to pay for. But the great thing is you can get out of it. But unlike cable, right, where when you're dealing with cable, you have to pay that bill all year, right? If that makes sense. Like you always have to pay the bill. You have a contract you're stuck into, etc. But with streaming, I can cancel my Hulu, my Disney Plus, my Amazon Prime, whatever the heck I feel like. It doesn't matter. I can turn Netflix on and off at my leisure, and it's a much better experience for the user when you're in that situation. So I only turn it on when something good is coming on. Loki's on right now on Disney Plus, so gotta turn Disney Plus back on. And as a matter of fact, I was watching Ahsoka too, so I had it on for that also. Loki, Ahsoka, etc. That's I want to see it, so I got to have it turned on. And the more they keep giving me something that I want to see, the more I keep it running. And the moment that nothing I want to see is running right now, they go right off, right? So we see that has changed the way we interact with things. It's a completely different way that the consumer behaves today than they did in the past, right? So that rise and fall of Blockbuster should serve as a powerful lesson for everybody, right? It highlights the importance of recognizing the value of innovation and staying ahead of the curve. In the rapidly changing world that we live in, that's powered by technology, being the first to enter the market, right? Being the first to enter the market is cool, right? But being the first to enter the market is not everything anymore. It's no longer the most important thing. The most important and most crucial thing is to be adaptable, right? The story of Blockbuster reminds us that no matter how comfortable or dominant you are today, There's always going to be somebody innovating behind you, so you have to continue innovating in the world that we live in today. We are not in a world anymore where you can just do things the same way for 70 years and think that you can continue to dominate. History has shown us time and time again companies like Kodak, Nokia, and Blockbuster, right, who failed to embrace innovation eventually faced their downfall, right? And that is how it works. So keep all that in mind. And to even deviate away from there, let's think about Uber, right? Because with Uber, we talked about Uber a little bit at the beginning, but we really kind of went really on the deep end with Netflix. But think about what happened with Uber, right? And Airbnb also, because that wasn't attacking a company, that was attacking a business model completely. Now, there were other places beside Blockbuster that did that also did, rentals and, and they're in cable, etc. There were obviously other businesses that did that. But I want you to notice one thing, right, about what happened with Blockbuster. Netflix demolished Blockbuster because they wouldn't innovate, right? HBO noticed what was happening. And instead of sitting on their laurels and saying that we can keep doing what we're doing, though, they said we want to grow as well and we don't want to be completely demolished by Netflix. So we need to do, since we own the actual IP, the property, we need to create our own streaming platform as well. So this way that we can actually compete. And then the cable networks did the same thing with Hulu. They noticed what was happening and didn't allow themselves to be completely destroyed because they innovated. If they didn't innovate, they would have been lost. But they came up with a new business model based on what they saw happening around them. And that's something that you need to do. And Uber attacked the business model because you remember the age old ritual. You go out, you wave your hand, you try to get a taxi. But Uber changed that. You just open up your phone, you do a couple clicks, and boom, Uber is going to show up and pick you up wherever you are, right? They completely changed the business model by merging that technology along with transportation, and they changed everything that we have. And it wasn't just the fact they did that; they launched a gig economy where people can actually make money, right, from you got a car, we got people that want to drive, that need a ride. We'll connect you, and then you get paid, right? And people that that recognize that opportunity, they seize that opportunity. And so what I'm talking about, not necessarily you have to create Uber, but when you see a Uber, right? If Uber is something that based on your current situation, it would enhance your life, not just as a customer, but as a provider. You jump in and you take charge with it. And you saw that rise of that gig economy from the mid 2010s up until now, that some people changed their entire financial future for life by based on being able to work in the daytime, drive Uber at night, or vice versa, and stack up additional money they wouldn't have been able to stack up otherwise. And these opportunities are coming around now. Like there right now, there are little online gig jobs you can do where you can help train AI models, right? And you can and while they're trying to get these AI models sound, be able to make it so they can come up against scrutiny of what's it called of legislation, etc. These things have to get trained and trained well, and you can help do that as long as you know English or as long as you know the language the AI wants to use. Like as long as you know English, you know Spanish, you know whatever, you can use that ability to be able to train these AI models. That is a gig that's available because of the way technology is moving. You have to notice when these things start opening up and how you can make money as a result. The same way that people that got into coding and continue to get into coding recognize that all this technology is being created, who's making it? The software engineers. Great. Well, if the software engineers are making this technology, I need to learn how to be a software engineer so I can get paid for helping build these technologies. And then you have the boom of people trying to get into software. Then you have the boom of people saying that I know how to make software and people need to learn how to make software so they become software engineers. I'm going to teach people how to do that, right? I'm going to help enable them to be able to go build those things. And then you have the boom of that, of coding boot camps and tutorials and all these different things like that. You have to see where the world is moving and insert yourself, right, into where it makes sense so that you can create the income that you know you deserve. And it's something. And Airbnb did a lot of the same thing, but I wouldn't really call Airbnb fully like a gig economy. What really happened is people that had extra rooms, or that's where it started. You had an extra room. You go ahead, go on this website. You put the extra room for rent, and somebody could go ahead and rent the apartment that you could have rented for 1,200 a month, but instead rent it for $200, $300 a night. And so if you rent the apartment for 15 days a month, 15 days a month, so even if you're half vacancy the whole entire time, you can go ahead and make 3,000 or 4,500 as opposed to 1,200 for the entire month. So you can make more money, for rent for holding on to that apartment or that house, etc., or just that room, which is great, and that helped a lot of people. And also it helped people that travel because I like to go to speak, to go to events and speak here and talk here and listen here, etc., and do all those different things. And when I go a place, sometimes I'm gonna take an Airbnb over a hotel because it might be cheaper, it might be closer to what's going on, it might have a better experience than being in a hotel sometimes, etc. So I'm gonna do that. And also there's a community around Airbnb. You're not going to get a community the same way around a Hilton or outside of a Marriott, but you'll get a community on Airbnb of people that do that. And like I've said before, and I'll say it again, technology plus community is what creates everything, right? Um, that is important. So with what's coming down the pipeline with AI and blockchain, what does that have to do with what I'm talking about? Right? But with AI and blockchain, that's just more technology. And same thing with clean energy, just more technology. And what you have to think about is how do I insert myself? How do I have the same spirit of those people that said, hey, I could take my car and drive on Uber, right? How do you take that same energy, that same innovative thought that that person had to insert themselves into that new economy early on and reap the most benefits? Because the people that rode earlier got the best money, the best, the best bonuses, the best this, the best that, because they were trying to build up Uber and get people moving in it. And one of the things that you can start to do, right? Because this, I'm not going to talk in detail about AI and blockchain about what it is here. And I have other episodes where I've done that, and will do that. What I want to talk about is how you need to figure out what is being created. And there's 3 websites you need to look at that's going to change your life completely. Maybe a 4th one, because I think I'm going to make one to help organize it in a simpler way, since you don't have to be as creative to figure it out. But 3 websites I want you to look at, right? 3 websites. This is the whole reason you've been paying attention up until now, so pay close attention. 3 websites you want to look at. You want to look at wellfound.com, right? You also and I'll say wellfound slash AngelList. They're owned by the same company. So you want to look at those 2, right? And I'm going to count them as one. And you also want to look at Republic and WeFunder, right? And a 4th one, throw Start Engine in there too. But Republic, WeFunder, let's say Republic, WeFunder, Start Engine, and Wellfound slash AngelList. And the reason why you want to look at those is not because you want to get a job or whatever from them, even though you can definitely find jobs on Wellfound, right? If you have the right skills. But what you want to look at is you want to look at what companies are raising money right now, right? Because if they're raising money, raising capital, right? Especially if they're in seed stage, early stages, they're going to spend that money, right, in order to gain market share. Not only that, these people that are doing billions of dollars of research, like A16Z, etc., they are betting on the things that they think are going to be crucial in the future, right? So if you pay attention to for example, on Well-Found, the companies that are hiring, what they're hiring for, what they do, you can say, oh man, that's a self-driving car company or a flying car company, and they just got $1 billion in funding. That's significant, et cetera. Because you could have seen all this stuff, but you could have foretold Uber was going to be Uber by looking at the investments that were made at Uber early on, right? You could have seen that, what's it called? Figma was going to be Figma by looking at investment early on. You could have found out a lot of these things, right, by paying attention to the way the money's moving. If you look at where this money's moving, you can say, okay, these rich people think that this is going to be significant in the future. So if they think it's going to be significant in the future, I might want to pay attention to this. That's the reason why they're putting money in here. And even though I may not be able to participate in it, and in the sense of being able to invest in it, because if you're not an accredited investor, right, you may not be able to invest the same place they're investing, but you can say, while this company's growing, I need to watch it and see if there's a way for me to get myself inserted in, and the same way how somebody could insert themselves in to what Uber was doing as a driver, right, before Uber became public, right? That's what you're trying to do. And if you can figure out and see where things are going, that's going to that's going to set you up better. Just like it was my daughter's birthday recently, and my daughter was playing checkers with my father, and I was coaching her while she's doing it, and I'm telling her, you can't just make a move, right? She made a move. She jumped one of the pieces, if you know how checkers played, and so she took a piece from my father, and my father immediately double jumped her immediately after, right? Big life lesson. And I was explaining to her that when you make a move in checkers or in life, you don't just make the move and only look at what's going to happen immediately. You make the move thinking about what's going to happen 2, 3, and 4 moves in the future. And the more advanced you are, the more moves in the future you can make, right? And I'll say this to you all as well. What you need to do is you need to think about the fact that you're in the position you are in today because past you made certain decisions, whether good or bad, put you in a good position or a bad decision, but you're in that way, in the position you're in because of past you, right? And what happened to past you and what past you did. So what you need to do now is eventually the current version of you will become the past version of you to the future version of you. And you want the future version of you to be proud of the past version of you because that past version of you made the right choices to set up the future version of you, right? So you need to make a move and think 4 or 5 steps in advance. That's what I'm trying to help you do now. I'm trying to help you do that, right? By telling you that in 2032 the world's going to change dramatically, right? Or will not on at the moment of 2032. By 2032, when you look at 2032, it's not going to look like 2023, right? And it's going to happen over time, but you're going to look back over those 9 years and say, whoa, look at everything that I didn't take advantage of, right? If you don't start to think about it today. So you've got to start to make those decisions now, right? What are the ways that you can adapt and you can learn? Now, we talked about what you do on Well-Found, right? But what you could do on WeFunder and Republic and Start Engine, what you could do on those is, yes, you can invest, not investment advice. I'm not saying that you need to invest in these companies, but you can see the companies that are raising money, and you got to follow the money. If these companies were able to raise hundreds and millions of dollars, right, via crowd funds and by outside ways, and you can see what it is they're building and where things are going, it'll surprise you at what's actually getting money and what is actually getting results. And you need to say, how can I be attached to that? How can I actually make sure that I'm prepared to be able, if I live in a world where the world that these people that are raising these millions of dollars, the world that they think is going to exist, how would I fit in that world? And you need to make yourself rapidly fit into that world by learning what you need to learn if you want to be able to continue to generate money and capital, etc., and be able to take care of your family and all that. So you got to be a lifelong learner. You got to be curious. You got to look into this stuff, right? You got to experiment with the technology. You got to play with it. You got to talk to people. You got to network, right? And you also got to think about the ethical dilemmas that some of these technologies provide, because you will be the voters voting on what you think about these things. And if you're asleep the entire time and not paying attention, you could be easily swayed one way or the other because you haven't been thinking about it for years, right? And I understand that some people that everybody's got to pay bills, and you might not want to think about these things in detail, but you need to start thinking about them and how you really feel about them, and not be afraid of technological advancement. You need to understand that technology is going to take on the spirit of whoever is creating it, and also even bad people will only do what they can get rewarded for. They just don't care if they have to do something bad to get the reward. So you need to make it not good when they go away from what it is that you believe is going to move the world, and being a better place. You got to pay attention to these things. So you got to prepare for this, right? So look at those websites. Use that to help you figure out what you think is coming, right? And as you continue to think about these things, feel free to contact me. Maybe the easiest place to contact me probably is Instagram. So just follow my Instagram at Big Papa Code, and DM me, message me, tell me about these things. Tell me things that you want me to talk about and look into, and help. And let's move through these things together and come out the other side in 2032 better as a result, right? That is the goal. That's what we're trying to do here. That is our whole entire mission with the Deeper Than Code podcast. So with that said, I really appreciate you being here with me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this with fellow technology enthusiasts. Right now, this is a disruptor's dream. This is a disruptor's realm that we live in today. And until next time, I'm so glad that you're joining me on this journey. Peace out, and I'll see you in episode number 4, where we're going to talk about some crazy stuff in episode number 4, because we're actually going to talk about what the heck Bitcoin is. The next episode is Money Talks, Gold to Bitcoin, the Financial Evolution. And episode 5 is going to be AI and Futurism, Reshaping Prop Tech and Real Estate. And episode 6, the creator economy and the future that awaits. So some crazy things that we have coming on. I'm excited to continue to do this with you. Peace out, and you have a wonderful evening, day, whatever time it is you're listening to my voice.
Vibe with me, opportunity. Yeah, I said it's deeper than cold, y'all. Involved with the tech revolution. Opportunity to use it. It's deeper than cold. Get involved with the tech revolution. Yeah, opportunity to use it or lose it. Deeper than cold.